See, I have a problem. Me and my girlfriend moved into this flat around 4 or 5 months ago, and she's become aware that I have a really nice gaming PC. And one of her friends has influenced her to start playing Dead by Daylight. Usually, I don't mind sharing, but the only issue is, when she's gaming, I can't use my PC. So I've thought long and hard about how I can resolve this issue. The best thing to do is to build her own one. I don't want to spend a lot of money on that. I think I could get away with getting lots of used parts, putting it together. I'm going to set myself a budget of £350. And now that all the parts are ordered, we just have to sit and wait until they all arrive. So the first thing to arrive is the PC case, motherboard, CPU combo. As you can see, the case is not that great. It's definitely a pre-built one. It's got 3XS written on the front, and a quick Google search shows that it's from Scan PCs. It's got a decent mesh cover on top. It's got like these PS2 ports, like they're really old, aren't they? And then it's also got a Wi-Fi card. The front IO's hanging out the back. The glass is definitely cracked, probably happened during shipping. I'm not too bothered about that. It's going behind the sofa, so no one's gonna ever see it. We got this for £50 total. It was the PC case, motherboard and CPU. The listing actually said they didn't know what the CPU was under, so I've done the courtesy of taking it off, and I'm gonna run through all the parts at the end, so stick around to find out what CPU that was. So over the next few days, all the parts slowly started arriving, and I just got straight into building. In all honesty, the case was really easy to work with, but I must say I found it really hard to put the stock cooler back on. I also had to use some power supply extenders, which were my own. Most power supplies will have a long enough cable. It's just for some reason my one was extremely short. Time for the first boot. Let's go. Silly me, it wasn't turned on at the wall. Rookie mistake. Oh, the back fan isn't spinning. The graphics card just stopped spinning. The motherboard's got a flashing orange light. Okay, everything's plugged in. So this is the boot attempt after reseating the RAM. I think there's some kind of issue. Oh, no way. No way.
No way. Oh my god. Oh my god. No way. Oh my god. Let's fucking go.
So the SSD already had an instance of Windows, but I just thought let's just do a fresh install. And then we got hit with a Windows update, so that took a very long time, so I just left it running in the background. So after downloading all the drivers, I just thought I'd play a game of Battlefield just to get a sense of the performance, and instantly I noticed something was wrong. The frame rates we were getting felt far too low, especially comparing it to other videos online and where this card should be performing. And after that, I ran a few benchmarks to kind of isolate where the issue was. And some good news, the GPU was fine, but I noticed the CPU, especially in Cinebench, it was thermal throttling quite a bit, and just after a few minutes it just kept tanking in speed. So after some inspection, it was clear that the stock cooler, one of the clips were broken off, so there wasn't enough mounting pressure on the CPU. To fix this, I just bought a cheap CPU cooler off Amazon. It was Thermalright Assassin. It had good reviews, so I just went with it. After the cooler change, I ran Cinebench for a very extended period, and I'm glad to announce it never went below 3.9 GHz. We also got a score of 418 points for the CPU, which fits right in with benchmarks found online. So the first thing I done was give Battlefield another go. We're at 1440p, everything maxed out on Ultra. Very pleased with the performance here. 80 frames per second on average. Sometimes it even goes up to like 100. It's a very light scene. I can imagine in like heavy battle it dip into like 70s. So next up is Dead by Daylight. This game is pretty much the reason why this PC was built. I'm hoping we can max it out. It's on 4K resolution. No, it's doing the FPS limit to 120 just to see. All the settings are on Ultra, FSR off, the upscaling. Let's see how it performs. So yeah, we're getting around the 60 to 70 frames per second. Again, we're running at 4K resolution, so extremely pleased with the performance here. If we really wanted to take it up higher frame rate, we can lower the resolution, maybe put FSR on, but I don't think it's needed. So next up, I wanted to put it through a graphically intense game, Hogwarts Legacy. So we're definitely not going to be able to max it out. The best I got was high settings, FSR 1440p render resolution. Even with this setting though, we are hitting around 60 frames per second, but we regularly dip in the 50s. It is a game where it's not competitive, so anything over 30 frames per second will be playable, but it's just your preference if you want that smooth 60 frames per second. You could potentially bring down the render resolution to 1080p. I do know that this game uses a lot of RAM, and we are at 16 gigs here and it's fully maxed out, so I think even an upgrade to 32 gig will give you a lot more stability in the game. But at the end of the day, you can easily play this game from start to finish without feeling like you've not got enough performance. Okay, so first I'm going to start with the CPU, and I must say I don't think without the deal we got on this would not have been possible. So what we got was an i5-10400F, a motherboard and a PC case all in one for £50. So the RAM kit we went with was just crucial memory. It was 2 times 8 gigs. We only have 2 RAM slots. So in hindsight, I do wish I went with 16 times 2. But obviously when you start upgrading these little things saying, oh, it's only £20 more, then obviously the whole build just accumulates more. And I think the goal with this build was just to stay within budget. So the RAM kit was £16. Some of the games we play, like Hogwarts Legacy for example, is very RAM intensive, so I think an upgrade down the line is one way to go. For the SSD, I just went with kind of the cheapest M.2 256 SSD. The reason why I went with this is most of my games are on a external SSD, so all I needed was a drive to put the OS on. The SSD was £20. And for the graphics card, we went with a 6700 XT, and we got that for 225 used. The reason why I went with this card is just raw performance wise for 1440p games. I think it does really well. In hindsight, because we are using a 4K monitor and we're sat quite far back and we're not playing competitive games, I would have went with a 3070. It's around the same price used on eBay. Nvidia upscaling is a lot better, but at the end of the day, I'm not complaining. Most of the games that we play, we've been playing really well. And this is the part where I think a lot of people are going to say,
oh, well, you didn't actually spend £350 if you already had a power supply.
So I'm using a Seasonic small form factor 1000-watt power supply. I had that because my main PC, I'm going to try build it into a really small form factor. And obviously this project then came up and I didn't want to spend any more. Let me just put it in. But what I will say is that power supplies, especially around the 650 to like 700 watt, if you check the age as well, if it's no longer than like maybe 3 or 4 years used, one of the most common reasons people upgrade from that sort of power supply wattage is that they've upgraded a card, for example, like got a 5090 or something, and they just need that extra wattage. And obviously like a couple years ago, when I didn't have the funds to be getting like brand new power supplies and whatnot, I've purchased used as well, and the used one that I purchased back in 2022, so 3 years ago, is in my main PC build right now. So the average eBay cost of these power supplies are around £35. And as we saw earlier in the video, the CPU was thermal throttling a lot, and after some inspection, the stock cooler, the plastic clip, wasn't all the way in, so there wasn't complete pressure on the CPU, and there was no way of fixing the stock cooler, and I don't like stock coolers anyway. So yeah, the CPU cooler was a Thermalright Assassin, and that came to £14 something. I think we've done extremely well, and yeah, for the use case it performs really well, and I don't think we'll be needing to upgrade anytime soon. So that wraps up the video, and let me know what you guys thought, and I'm curious to know what specs you're running on your PC.